Thomas Murdock, had been the cemetery keeper of Blackthorn Cemetery for as long as anyone could remember. Bent with age, his face etched with lines of hard-earned wisdom, he tended to the graves with the reverence of someone who knew the secrets buried beneath the soil. He never spoke much, but when he did, it was always with a grave seriousness. His one rule was simple.
Don't stay after dark.
It was a warning passed down through generations, but few knew why. Jack was new to the town, a cocky, restless young man, full of the arrogance that comes with being 17 and unafraid of old legends. He had recently moved to Blackthorn to live with his aunt after his parents' sudden passing. His grief left him angry at the world, seeking distractions and reckless challenges. So, when he heard the cemetery keeper's warning, he dismissed it as the ramblings of a superstitious old man. Most of the locals had too. The older kids in town even made a joke of it, daring each other to hide among the tombstones at sunset to spook the others. Thomas Murdock had tried warning them, each one that dared test the graveyard's patience. Most would sneak out before the sun fully set, their fear getting the best of them. But Thomas knew Jack was different. There was a stubbornness to him, a defiance. The old man tried again, confronting Jack as he wandered near the cemetery gate one evening.
You think you're invincible, boy, but no one is safe in there after dark.
Thomas said, his voice low, eyes dark with concern.
You'll join the others who didn't listen.
He paused, his gnarled hand resting on the iron gate.
They rise when the sun goes down. They're looking for those who forget to respect their rest.
Jack scoffed.
Ghost stories, old man, that's all. You can't scare me.
But Thomas's voice dropped to a whisper, barely audible.
I wasn't trying to scare you. I was trying to save you.
Jack ignored him, just like the others before him, those who disappeared, leaving no trace. But what he didn't know was that the cemetery keeper wasn't just a guardian of the graves. Thomas knew what happened after dark because he had seen it. Long ago, when he was young like Jack, he too had thought the warnings were nonsense. But one night, while hiding among the tombstones, the ground had stirred, and the dead had risen. Only Thomas hadn't escaped like the others. His spirits had reached for him, their cold hands grazing his skin, marking him. They spared him only because he had run for the church bell, ringing it as a last desperate plea for mercy. From that night, he had been bound to the cemetery, forced to watch over it, forever aware of the danger lurking just beneath the earth. Every sunset, he watched the ground tremble and felt the icy presence of the souls who had not found peace. But Jack didn't listen, not even when Thomas locked the gate behind him that night, and the sun began to set. The wind shifted, colder now, carrying the scent of damp earth and decay. As darkness settled over the graves, the world seemed to hold its breath. Jack hid behind a tall marble tombstone, waiting for something, anything, to prove the old man wrong. But as the last rays of the sun slipped beyond the horizon, the ground around him began to shift. At first, it was subtle, just a shiver beneath the grass. Then the whisper started, soft, indistinguishable, like 1,000 voices speaking from beneath the soil. Jack's heart raced, and he cursed under his breath, ready to bolt. But when he stood, something cold brushed against his ankle. He looked down to see a pale hand reaching up from the earth, its fingers long and bony. Frozen in terror, Jack stumbled back as more hands emerged from the graves, their owners crawling out, ragged, decayed figures with hollow eyes. They moaned softly, their voices carrying the weight of the centuries they had been forgotten.
Jack,
One of them rasped, its face inches from his.
you shouldn't have stayed.
Panicking, Jack tried to run, but the spirits were faster, surrounding him. Their icy grip pulled him down, their fingers clutching his clothes, his skin. He screamed for help, but there was no one to hear him. Only the dead, who had risen to claim him, just as they had the others. As the darkness deepened, the cemetery fell silent once more. By morning, Jack was gone. Just another name whispered among the town's ghost stories. Thomas Murdock stood by the gate, his weathered face heavy with sorrow. He knew it would happen. It always did. The cemetery demanded its due, and those who disrespected the dead paid the price. Still, he gave the same warning to the next fool who dared stay after dark.
Don't stay.
But just like Jack, they never listened. And each time, Thomas felt the weight of his eternal task. He was the cemetery's keeper, but not its protector. He could only watch, knowing the dead would rise again,